The announcement today of Operation Safe Games. Police Minister Robert Atiyafa condemns the killing of a mobile squad officer. And another lay student murdered in a school fight.
This is National Emtv News with Tokana Hasavi.
This is Thursday's news. It's good to have your company again. The government has directed the Chief Secretary and the heads of the 3 disciplinary forces to deliver a safe Pacific Games. Over 2,600 personnel will make up the entire joint security operations, now called Operation Safe Games. The Royal PNG Constabulary, the PNG Defence Force and the Correctional Services have been fully briefed on their duties by the National Security Advisory Committee.
Government has given the direction to the Chief Secretary to Government and the 3 heads of the disciplinary forces to deliver a safe game.
Secretary of the Department of Personnel Management John Kali announced the security operations today at a media conference in Port Moresby. He said the security operations are to ensure the protection of the facilities and assurance to the athletes and visitors during the 2 weeks of the Pacific Games. Secretary Kali referred to the successful PNG Hunters game which was held last weekend.
It's a good example of what is to come, in which our people have proven that they will embrace the opportunity for any international games.
Police Commissioner Gary Baki explained that the involvement of the Defence Force and the Correctional Service will be guided by the usual call-out process. He said once it is endorsed by Cabinet and the call-out is implemented, Defence Force and CS officers will be appointed as special constables to support the police for the entire duration of the Games.
The deployment of the CS will basically support police in a lot of the stations around Port Moresby City. They are assisting the city police to ensure that the city is safe while the actual games are conducted. Defence deployment will be supporting police in terms of quick response reaction forces in terms of any other contingencies that might come out, plus some of the other tasks that have been identified.
PNGDF Commander Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo said 300 PNGDF personnel will be deployed for the security operations. He said PNGDF also has 2 task forces ready for any high-end security concerns with choppers, planes and ships on standby should anything above the normal call of duty require such assistance.
The mere presence of members of the disciplinary forces is to assure that all security aspects have been taken into consideration.
PNGDF Pacific Games security operation will be launched tomorrow with a joint task force parade at the Murray Barracks Commanders Parade Ground. The heads of the disciplinary forces assured everyone of a safe 2 weeks of the regional games.
I am confident we will deliver the safe games, and with the assistance of the CS and the defence and of course the support of the government through the office of the Chief Secretary, the Constabulary stand ready to give that assurance to the people of Papua New Guinea and our visitors that the games will be safe.
Deli Waigeno, National Emtv News.
The Pacific Games Organising Committee is aware that there may be unscrupulous people before and during the Games time who will try to sell counterfeit tickets. The Games Organising Committee is encouraging all fans, supporters and spectators to buy tickets from authorised dealers, which include selected BSB branches nationwide, all the Stop and Shop stores here in Port Moresby and the post-PNG outlets at Waterfront and Vision City, also here in Port Moresby. The genuine Games tickets have a high-end security feature on it that makes it very difficult to duplicate, and fake ones can be detected immediately at the gates. Those found selling counterfeit tickets or in possession of a fake ticket will be charged by the police. A student at Lane's Malahang Technical High School has died from injuries sustained in a student fight. The grade 10 student died in hospital and his body was taken to the high school this morning. This is the 4th killing related to school fights within 3 years. MTV's Bethany Harriman has this report from Lane.
Malang Technical High School classes have been suspended. Yesterday, a grade 10 student was chased out of the school's premises in a student fight and beaten near the Malahang market. He was taken back to the school on a Land Cruiser 10-seater before rushed to the hospital in the school bus. The student died at hospital and was taken back this morning to the school campus.
Mipla charging all police recording munchalong OB, and then only go back to school na all kisim voluntary transfer. This law sumatin never to come back to Bugandi again. In the case of Bugandi, Malang now looking me and by same, but if it results in murder, obviously that's a criminal case. So I'm by Mipla Putilo police.
In the last 3 years, the ongoing lay student fights have caused the death of 4 children, and it has received high-level attention.
In 2013, 2 Bugandi students shot by a policeman after a confrontation with other students. In 2014, the son of a pastor stabbed and killed with a screwdriver at Eriku. Last year, a Bumayong student also killed after a student fight.
Education Minister Nick Kuman was in Leh last week. He said principals and school boards need to take tougher, more decisive actions on students involved in these fights.
We're not going to allow this. This is something that it's a culture all to do with, urbanization. A lot of school fights are happening all in the towns and cities. It doesn't happen in the rural areas of this country. They all live in harmony. They want to go to school and they want to be somebody in this country. They want to partner in the development of this country when they grow big.
Police were at the school this morning to see the student's body and begin investigations. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Leh.
A member of the police mobile squad 14 was killed last night. The deceased was attacked by a mob within the vicinity of Goroka town in the late hours of the night and was confirmed dead around midnight last night after he was brought to the Goroka General Hospital. Police Minister Robert Atiyafa has condemned the killing, saying it is the work of hooligans and people with sick minds.
Minister Atiyafa, who has been briefed by the Eastern Highlands Provincial Police Commander, confirmed that the late policeman Tom Inamu was attacked along the Kama and Bihute Road in the early hours of this morning. The late policeman later died of his injuries at the Goroka General Hospital. The deceased was off duty at the time and was driving a private vehicle on his way towards Goroka town when he ran into a drunken crowd.
Time me come back long. Town me say roti block so I'm sight him. One bla two bla man na ultrome stone logan so I'm losing roti I go lo barret now start stone him. Class na bian only physically
While there is report of tension around the Kama area of Goroka town, the minister says they are moving quickly to control the situation. He is pleased with the effort made by local Goroka MP Bira Kimisopa to bring community leaders together to help with the situation.
So as it is, the latest information now long, police lo Goroka only got identity lo man involved. Now appeal lo me again, lo leaders lo Kama. Now community lo Kama na Goroka lo come forward na give him name, na give him identity lo man who sat involved lo kill him lo police officer within the next 24 hours.
Minister Atiyafa expressed sadness and his condolences to the family and relatives of the late policeman and appealed to them to allow police to continue with the investigations.
Me talk sorry Makimol Police Department, na commissioner, lo family belonging or some manner in which emi go emi no good pla, but by law iksimol.
Late Tom Inamu is reported to be survived by his wife and an infant son. Sarah Aupong, National MTV News.
And while condemning the killing of the police mobile squad member in Goroka, the minister says the public should show more respect for the life of a policeman or policewoman. The latest killing in Goroka adds to the number of policemen who have been fatally attacked by the public over the last several months.
All policemen blow you la country time I got heavy na. I got issue mi plus sabi hari abron lol. Knowledge I come no defend him property blow you me. Defend him life blow you me too. But passing away mi come up long province blow me na. Lo goroka mi condemn him. Condemn him to the least mi no come lo guplaman. Mi come lo man want sick mind. Head blowing or walk normal. So time killing it come up or destruction or property come up, whether I blow government or blow all corporate bodies or all citizens of the country. And walk now blow police so we can protect him and look at him yumi. One. Now time you mean or respect him the least long. Or policeman Mary only na mi play bagrapimo and passing no good.
The Papua New Guinea Teachers Association is calling for more investigation into the tuition fee-free education funds. PNGTA's National General Secretary, Ogwalubu Moana, today says the future of this nation's children also depends on the TFF education policy. He says the association acknowledges the admission by Education Minister Nick Kuman of 50 million kina in public funds unaccounted for, but says there may be more to it than just ghost schools and students. Emtv's Yvonne Kambibel reports.
Mr. Moana says the Education Department keeps a record of all the schools and students. Therefore, he is asking the department to clarify which schools and students they were referring to as ghosts. He called on Mr. Kuman and Secretary for Education Dr. Uke Kombra to publicly disclose details of the ghost schools and students and the accuracy of the data source.
There should be no ghost schools in the country because all public schools in this country are registered by Education Department.
PNGTA is also calling on Prime Minister Peter O'Neill to set up a commission of inquiry into the use of TFF education funds. Mr. Moana stressed that it is about time the government and the other relevant state law enforcing agencies take heed for their calls.
The Papua New Guinea Teachers Association has already written to the Prime Minister, Honorable Peter O'Neill, expressing our concern over the abuse of funds within the Education Department and Ministry of Education.
Moana concludes that PNGTA has all the reliable information to prove that the TFF funds have been abused.
Very soon, we will report to the people of Papua New Guinea all the abuses. And we are willing to do that. As soon as all the information is vetted, we will release it to the people of Papua New Guinea.
Yvonne Kambibel, National MTV News.
Good to have you back with the news. The Morobe provincial government is calling on the national government to increase its assistance in the areas of freight subsidies for coffee farmers in Morobe. With the new growth by coffee cooperatives, the provincial government is challenging the national government to match its contribution kina for kina. So far, the Morobe provincial government has invested $1 million to subsidize freights.
With the growing presence of coffee cooperatives in the Morobe province, Morobe's provincial government is seeking greater intervention from Port Moresby. It already has an arrangement with the Coffee Industry Corporation in which its contributions of $1 million kina are being matched by the coffee regulating body. But Governor Kelly Naru says the national government needs to provide more support to coffee farmers.
I believe so. National government can look along this plan and by making life much more easier too.
That more than 1 billion or 2 billion must be pumped into agriculture because the non-renewable resources of oil, gas and copper will run out one day. Now, you mean securing good agriculture sector,
A large amount of coffee produced in Morobe comes from Kabum, Nawai and Menyamia, areas that are quite difficult to get to. The call for freight subsidies comes after a recent announcement by the Civil Aviation Minister of a national government policy soon to be announced that aims to cut fuel costs for third-level airlines.
what we really need is injection of money from the national government itself. So if we are coming 1 million, then they should really come 1 million.
In many respects, Morobe is leading in its quest to provide affordable transport and freight to its people. Siasi and Finchafan districts have bought shipping vessels that will eventually follow the routes traveled by Lutheran shipping. Bulolo already has a plane, and one of its primary role is to carry coffee from rural areas into Lae. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lae.
The Bulolo district has announced its intention to purchase several hundred hectares of old coffee plantation desperately in need of rehabilitation. The Big Bean Coffee Mill and Plantation in Wau is expected to be bought at the cost of 4.5 million kina by the Bulolo district. The aim is to rehabilitate the plantation and create a coffee processing hub for people in Wau, Bulolo, Garaina and the Watut.
We apply by Luglo acquiring Big Bean property for about almost 5 million. Now another 4 million for rehabilitation. So in 2 or 3 years time, or by start production. But we want to make it in 1 year time, so that Bampla Gonchad lo parchment buying also while only rehabilitating farm. Na ada potential of put him roaster. Na mi platram Luglo stop him. Many of my coffee no can come out now. Wow, biaro coffee no can come out now. Mi plasarim go back up. Now what we're trying to do is that, because I'm owned by district, but Mipla by sharing this profit. Time Mipla export him go. Lay by him 4 kena 50, Mipla must buy him 4 kena 60.
The standard-based curriculum will be used in the future after it replaces the current outcome-based curriculum. This comes following the Senior Education Officers Conference held in Lae this week, where some of the discussions were centered on ways to improve the education system. First Assistant Secretary for Education, Titus Hatagen, explains the difference between the two education systems, describing the new OBE system as alien.
Education professionals say the government has also given its attention since 2013 to outcome-based education in the country. Assistant Secretary for Curriculum and Measurement Titus Hatagen says the Education Department has embarked on ways to improve the education system to avoid increased dropouts of students.
The outcome-based education was not well managed, and they did not resource the outcome-based education well. And as such, the NEC's made a decision that the department move away from the outcome-based education and move towards actually implementing the standard-based curriculum.
The standard-based curriculum is structured on a more material system where students directly access resources to reason and extract information at their own pace. The outcome-based education is more systematic, where students are taught with expectations of achieving a more specific outcome in their lessons. That is, whether the student fully understands the lesson or not is not much of a priority.
The government is very, very serious about excellence and equity. And so therefore, one of the strong investments they are making to this particular concern is free education.
With the TFF policy currently effective in the education system, more students will be enrolled at public schools. This now means PNG will need an effective approach to improve education. Colin Barilai, National MTV News, Lae.
The autonomous Bougainville government will begin the process of tracking outstanding funds still owed to them by the national government. President John Momis says the autonomous government will strongly pursue the national government to honour the Bougainville Peace Agreement. MTV's Fabian Hakalets files this report.
Speaking at the 10th anniversary celebrations in Buka on Monday, the Bougainville president claimed the national government hasn't fully honoured the peace agreement, especially on the grants provision. The autonomous Bougainville government needs more broad-based development to bring improvements in people's lives, and with the limited funds, it cannot sustain livelihood.
The main national government grants cover only basic costs of delivering services. We have little internal revenue. The agreement does provide a restoration and development grant with a formula intended to increase when national budget development expenditure rises.
By now, Bougainville annual grant should have increased to over 75 million kina because of the rising commodity prices. However, it has remained on a steady rate on 15 million kina in most years.
The national government SIF funds since 2011 are helpful, but as conditional grants, they are no substitute for the Restoration and Development Grant. The ABG has been trying for 3 years to get the peace agreement provisions on this grant honored. We must pursue this matter vigorously.
However, Acting Prime Minister Grand Chief Leo Dion said the national government is committed to ensure Bougainville's autonomy potential is realized. ABG's access to financial and other resources is critical in making a real difference through government capacity and restoration and development.
Can be demonstrated through the 500 million kina over 5 years to be provided to the ABG through the Special Intervention Fund, SIFT, in addition to the grants specified in the Bougainville Peace Agreement and implementing laws.
Financial issues will be investigated by the national government in accordance with the Bougainville Peace Agreement relevant provisions.
As a government, we are committed to continue building on the strategic framework, not only for the autonomous arrangements to work, but also for the maintenance of lasting peace by peaceful means in accordance with this very important agreement.
Fabian Hakalitz, National Emtv News.
On the same note, former Bougainville Affairs Minister Sir Peter Pata has congratulated the re-election of President Chief John Momis into the Third House of Representatives. Sir Peter also congratulated the election of Speaker Simon Pentanu. He says this is a great signal for the future of the autonomous region.
Madang businessman and longtime resident Sir Peter Pata, during his political reign, was heavily involved with Bougainville issues as former Bougainville Affairs Minister. At this time, when the third Bougainville House of Representatives was sworn in on Monday this week, Sir Peter congratulated the autonomous Bougainville government with its Bougainville Electoral Commission for setting the precedence with the success conduct of its general election. Sir Peter has worked with Momis for many years, knowing his commitment to PNG as the first decentralization minister, followed by other national role, and his return to Bougainville as president for 2 terms. Chief Dr. John Momis' return was determined with a huge mandate that speaks well for Bougainville's future. Simon Pentanu's election as Speaker, his experience as National Parliament Clerk, the Ombudsman, and his general respect of law will set an example of how provincial governments should prosper. Sir Peter said Bougainville's immediate future will provide challenges. The first to develop an economy that will support autonomy and determine the best way forward to and after the referendum. The national and autonomous Bougainville governments must implement the peace agreement to move Bougainville forward. Fabian Hakalitz, National Emtv News.
And now we check out the finance news. The kina closed 10 points lower at $0.3655 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our kina was trading at $0.3580 US, $0.4602 Australian dollars, 0.3119 euro, and 43.79 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, coffee, cocoa, and copper all closed the day lower, while gold closed the day higher. Palm oil, crude oil, and copper all closed the day lower. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 30 points higher, the ASX closed at 9 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 29 points lower as well. Good to have you back with National Emtv News. The opposition yesterday raised concerns on the 50 million kina worth of taxpayers' money that Education Minister Nick Kuman announced as missing. Opposition leader Don Pollier said the government must be smart to address issues involving large amounts of money.
Fix the problem, arrest the issues, save the money lost, fight corruption.
The opposition was responding to Education Minister Nick Kuman announcing the 50 million kina worth of taxpayers' money being paid to ghost names under the government's tuition fee-free policy. Leader Don Pollier said the government should stop reporting these issues and start to create strategies and solutions to improve such situations.
Bring to an end mismanagement, bring to an end embezzlement and squandering of public funds that belongs to the people. They've been mandated a duty in office to protect the interests of Papua New Guineans. That's the job.
The opposition also called for an independent investigation into the missing funds.
An absolute independent investigation into this education is loss of money to the tuition-free policy and how the monies have been trickling down onto the school level. Because what the government is claiming might not be true. They might not have put a 50 million in down to the school system, to the schools, to the individual accounts.
Meanwhile, Acting Deputy Secretary for Education Dr. Uke Kombra said the department is taking steps to improve the accountability of the TFF funds, and the opposition believes the government must be hard on government departments and public servants who are dealing with taxpayers' money.
50 million loss here, 50 million loss there, and talking and watering it down is not good enough. The government has a duty to coming up with a solution.
Stanley Ove Jr., National Emtv News.
People from Bupu village in Bulolo's Mumeng area in the Morambe province will be benefiting from a newly built market by the Bulolo District Development Authority. Bulolo MP Sam Basil, when opening the new building, said the district authority is also planning to build more markets for the other wards within his district. Villagers say the new market will contribute greatly towards their livelihoods back in their homes.
More than 200 people in this small community will be using this new market to sell their garden produce. This is yet another development present to the Bupu people by Bulolo District Development Authority. Most of these people rely on the money they get from their daily markets to cater for basic essentials like salt and sugar. Jennifer Robert is a mother of 4. Like many other mothers in the village, she has children that attend school. A portion of the money she makes from her markets goes to paying her children's school fees.
Before, Mr. Stop long house no good. Now mix him good pla house. Me mama's no good through. Long when I miss I can put in market.
For the past 5 years, women have been selling their produce in an open space without any proper shelter. Sometimes they sit in the rain to sell their produce just to earn something at the end of each day. MP Sam Basil has also asked people in Bupu to use the new infrastructure with care.
This infrastructure is very important. It will make them trade and it will make them sell. And in Papua New Guinea, that's what the rural communities want. We enable them to engage into businesses in terms of, for example, here, selling their produce. So,
the new development at Bulolo's Bupu area is a caption of services vital for human sustainability in most of the country's rural areas. But the call for development depends on each district's performance of service delivery to its people. Colin Barilai, National MTV News, Leh.
Officers dealing with sexual offence cases in Papua New Guinea continue to be trained to improve their skills. Today saw the closing of a 10-day workshop for mainly victim liaison officers aimed at delivering essential services to survivors of sexual abuse. The workshop was facilitated by the Office of the Public Prosecutor and funded by the Australian Government through the PNG Australia Law and Justice Sector Partnership Program.
The workshop began last Monday and was attended by 25 participants, many of which travelled in from other provinces. They include members of Sexual Offences Division from the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, government and non-government offices, and Office of the Chief Justice.
And if we have to,
Marilyn Tani from Vanuatu Women's Crisis Center, an organization engaged in assisting victims of sexual violence in Vanuatu, said the first week was spent on understanding family and sexual violence, while subjects on how to console victims of family and sexual violence was conducted in the second week.
From the evaluation, they were very happy in getting the information, and some of them were new information, some of them felt the information was strengthening what they had already learned, or what they had already been doing.
Because of the high family and sexual violence cases reported in PNG, much emphasis was put into such programs to minimize abuse. Through the Law and Justice Partnership between the Australia and PNG governments, a joint approach was taken to address this issue, particularly in rural communities where sexual or family abuse has become a norm. Leonie Miwio, a participant, described the workshop as essential training and said it gave her an insight into specific issues relating to the violence.
We don't have the skills to sit down with a victim and ask them to explain to us how they feel and how we can note it down as a VLO and get it across for the court to be able to see what the victim is going through.
Deputy Public Prosecutor Timothy I said through this workshop, the participants can now work together to ensure those concerned are brought to justice.
We need to build up and properly equip those officers to be able to embrace and practice or start pursuing and working in this area.
Tekla Gunga, National Emtv News.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Team PNG chef de mission Richard Kasman is adamant that PNG will produce positive results during the Pacific Games. With 16 more days remaining until the opening ceremony, Kasman believes that Team PNG will be able to use the home crowd advantage at the Games.
With a contingent of 500 athletes, Team PNG is easily one of the largest contingents to ever take part in the Games.
So we built the teams up, and they're tapering in final preparations before the respective events. As chef de mission, I'm very, very pleased with all our 24 sports and 48 teams when you get male and female teams into account.
For the past 18 months, the chef de mission has been working tirelessly to ensure that every single member of the team, including its coaches and support staff, have all been up to scratch.
The equipment we've bought, sent them away all over the country. We've also sent them for regional carnivals. And then a big factor has been our high performance centre, where our athletes over the last 18 months have been undergoing quite intense strength and conditioning programs.
When asked about the issues with overseas-based Papua New Guineans and their non-participation, Kasman had said that while unfortunate to lose high-profile athletes such as Tahina Booth, they were able to gain other representatives.
Unfortunately, Parliament and government, it didn't come through, the dual citizenship. So her and a number of other athletes in team sports, athletes in boxing as well, and swimming, were unable to participate for Papua New Guinea.
Kasman believes that this squad of athletes are the best prepared, having had good support from the government for venues much like this one, also enabling travel opportunities abroad, and of course with the help from the High Performance Training Centre. And with that preparation, Papua New Guinea have a lot more up its sleeve than previously expected. Lorraine Genia, National Emtv Sports.
Well, it was an awesome game in State of Origin Game 2 from the Melbourne Cricket Ground last night. New South Wales Blues have now taken the series to a Game 3 decider. The Blues beat the Mighty Maroons by 8 points, 26-18.
The Blues dominated the early exchanges of the game. Off the back of a couple of penalties blown against the Maroons, and Michael Jennings was able to cross for the opening try in the 4th minute, off the back of a James Tamau offload.
Pierce for Gallon to Tamo, got a pass away, picked up by Pierce, gone to Jennings, chance here, Jennings is through, and over.
The Maroons slowly even up the game through Matt Scott, who was then able to cross for the Maroons in the 12th minute, in what was a very soft display of defense from the Blues.
Matt Scott is over the line.
The next 10 minutes or so were very back and forth between the two teams before Josh Morris finally managed to crack the Maroons' defensive line off the back of the wonderful kick across field from Mitchell Pearce.
And for
The Maroons, however, only took 7 minutes to hit back with a try to Greg Inglis after a damaging play from halfway through Thurston, Slater, Inglis himself and Darius Boyd, who threw the final pass back inside. Thurston, however, missed the conversion, leaving the Maroons 2 points behind. The Blues then got a chance for a penalty goal right on the stroke of half-time, leaving them 4 points ahead at the break with the scoreline 14 points to 10.
With 90 seconds remaining in the first half.
After the break, the Blues really looked to be stuck in first gear, as the Maroons has a number of sets right on the Blues goal line, before finally cracking them in the 47th minute with a barge-over try to Matt Gillett.
Turns it in, Gillett is over the line, puts the ball down.
The Maroons then received their own penalty and took 2, giving them a 4-point lead with around half an hour to play. The Blues then slowly got themselves back into the arm wrestle, and Aaron Woods was able to barge over in the 62nd minute against some very soft defense. The major talking point from the game, however, will come from the 13-minute to go mark, as Mitchell Pearce drifted across the line for the Blues and appeared to lose the ball, with Greg Inglis racing 100 meters to score. On review, however, it was ruled that Michael Morgan had raked the ball out and knocked it on, thus bringing it back to a scrum for the Blues just 10 meters out.
Bewildered, to say the very least.
With 2 sets on the Maroons line, the Blues and Josh Dugan managed to make Queensland pay as he crossed over with what was a very good run. The ensuing conversion took the Blues lead out to 8, and that concludes the scoreline of 26-18 in front of a record crowd of 91,513.
Keeping a perfect record together. Andrew Johns.
Shane Saroya, National, MTV Sports.
So looking forward to the decider. Well, the Games Village at the University of Papua New Guinea set and ready to accommodate athletes who will begin arriving in the last week of June. Our crew toured the facilities with the operations manager, Adalbert Gangai, this afternoon.
Spread out over 10 uniquely designed blocks, the Athletes Village will host all visiting athletes and officials. Divided into 2 separate areas with a central court space between each block.
The rooms are configured to take 5 in each room. They're quite spacious, and at the peak during the games in any 1 week we can be able to accommodate up to 4,200.
3 different types of buildings had been used in the design.
You've got Type A, Type B and Type C, and the Type Bs have 110 standard rooms, 3 accessibles for people with disabilities, and 2 mini suites each. And Type C has got 100 standard rooms.
Apart from the facilities provided, the venues will also cater for the volunteers assisting athletes.
Yes, each one of the rooms, in fact, each single bed is allocated to an athlete. And when they arrive, they know exactly which room belongs to them and where their bed is.
Gangai, also in his role as Athlete Services Manager, has organized for a more linguistic approach.
We've engaged several French translators. We're running basic French training for every single one of our volunteers, from the team lead to the receptionist.
These services will ensure a smoother running of the games.
And so our volunteers are focused at selling PNG as a tourist destination. We would like to show the world through the Games Village that people live here feeling the urge to come back again.
The Games Village will be able to accommodate for up to 5,000 different athletes from across the Pacific, from all nations that are taking part in the Pacific Games, and we'll have special services such as free internet access across each one of the individual buildings. Now at the bottom of each, they will also have brand new white goods such as fridges, washing machines, stoves, etc., and also television sets. Now, Albert Gangai, the Village Games Operation Manager, has also said that this Pacific Games Village will become, to an extent, the biggest hotel in the whole of Port Moresby. Jeremy Moggy, National TV Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Old Surge Pacific Games baton is now in the autonomous region of Bougainville, but before that, the baton toured Simpson Harbour and surrounding islands. Arriving in the East New Britain province early in the week, The relay team wasted little time traversing the islands. Here are the highlights from Eastern New Britain.
And our boat ride across a flat sea took the team to the Duke of York Islands, a place of beautiful white sandy beaches, small coastal communities, and a pod of spinner dolphins playing in the calm waters. On arrival at Molot Island, youth dressed in traditional bilas reenacting a scene from the first missionaries arriving many decades earlier, but who had met a somewhat different end at the hands of the tribesmen. The LLG president receiving the baton and taking it to a number of historical sites on the island, including the Old Methodist Church and the cemetery where the first Samoan missionaries are now buried. After getting Tura off the bullock and car transport, the islanders ran a relay down the length of the island, passing between a number of runners with school children running alongside. On the return journey, the baton was passed on to the children from Urakukur and Kabilomo, and they ran it back to the boat chanting Tura, Tura. There was a final farewell at the small dock, and the boat to St. George continued on its journey. With a small support craft assisting, the baton was able to drop in at beaches through the islands where villagers and school children had gathered on the waterfront to cheer on Team PNG. From the islands and back into Simpson Harbour, with the smoking backdrop of Mount Tavurur and a spectacular close-up visit to the beehive lava formations in the centre of the harbour. The baton was passed to the Rabao Mayor before the town's rugby team carried it on to the top, then handing it over to a traditional canoe for the paddle across to the large beehive. The baton was passed between the rest of the players and the team climbed onto a jumping platform. The Oil Search Pacific Games relay continues.
With the success of the Sepik Ironman, sports is predicted to attract much-needed development for WIWAG while sparking the revival of the East Sepik tourism industry. Over time, most provincial sports infrastructure has deteriorated due to lack of funding and poor management. However, once complete, the existing stadiums will host regular competitions and stage tournaments within the province.
Sports is recognized as a tool to address social issues, rehabilitate communities, and bring in much-needed development of infrastructure, funding, and assistance in health and education services.
Yeah, now I'm speaking my Ironman come and plant the line, especially youths. They're very happy to take part this last spell. Prepared about like 3 months, looking around go camp practice the morning hours.
Long album to source and drag, steam almost lose him. Almost come no sport. Joining sport and me plus running sport where come good. Oh, me amma since a Sepik Ironman I'm good pla. Because only come good. No, they organize him good. No line him get a mangi where will come good long one kind sports only run on him. They all be more long good pla.
Law and order issues have deprived the tourism industry for the East Sepik province and the township of Wewak in the past. The Sepik Ironman becomes the second major event, marked alongside the Sepik Mask Festival in the tourism calendar of the province.
Sepik Ironman, I put him Sepik long map long Papua New Guinea. Probably I attract him plenty online long international community law come to participate. Sepik Ironman I attract him tourism. Tourism la come inside the province. Inside so far, the province people know what mining this la all kind of industry where I'm come up inside the province na.
The stadium is going under further construction, with an extension to the existing tracks to meet world standard, and the addition of multi-purpose courts should cater for seated competitions within WIWAC. In the coming weeks, a projected screen will be mounted on the main stand for the coverage and duration of the Pacific Games. Once complete, the stadium will host multiple sports competitions and tournaments over the years, with the prospect of bidding for the PNG Games. Scholar Sengi, National, Emtv Sports.
Well, Trukai Sports ends on that note. Coming up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours. Stay tuned for that.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region, Port Moresby and Karama, cloudy weather with chances of light showers. In Mombasa, showers plus patchy rain expected in Lae City. In the New Guinea Islands, thundery showers expected in Lorengau and Kavieng. And lastly, in the islands region, all centres mostly fine, then few showers tonight. Well, that's been the news, sports and weather this Thursday. From the entire news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi. You take care and have an enjoyable evening. Good night.